Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. You guys remember our last little adventure exploring that fascinating world of VRShogiMates?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we uncovered a treasure trove of strategic board games.
So many.
But one in particular,
Yeah.
straight out of the Hunter x Hunter anime,
Oh, yeah.
really caught my eye.
Gungi.
Gungi.
Yeah.
What's so fascinating about Gungi is that it takes like that familiar concept of a chess-like board game
Right.
and adds a whole new dimension.
Okay.
Literally.
Whoa.
It's not just about moving pieces across a flat plane.
Right.
It's about building towers of power.
Okay.
Anticipating your opponent's moves.
Right.
And mastering the art of strategic stacking.
Okay, let's unpack this. For those who might not be familiar with Hunter x Hunter.
Sure.
Can you give us a little context about where Gungi fits into that world?
So in the Hunter x Hunter universe, Gungi is more than just a game. It's a national obsession in the Republic of East Gorto.
And it's so ingrained in their culture that they've dominated the Gungi World Championships for a staggering 15 years straight.
15 years.
That's some serious dedication.
That's incredible. They must have some legendary players over there. Any names we should know?
You're probably thinking of Komugi,
Okay.
the current world champion and a pivotal character in the anime.
Okay.
She's a blind prodigy
Oh, well.
who's held the title for 5 consecutive years,
Wow.
even defeating the incredibly intelligent Chimera Ant King,
Oh, right.
Maruam,
Yes.
in
Oh, yeah.
every single match.
So, wow.
Her intuition and strategic brilliance are legendary.
Okay, that definitely sets the stage for how high the stakes can get in Gungi.
Right.
But for those of us who haven't actually seen the game, what are the basics? It's
Sure.
just like chess.
On the surface,
Okay.
yes. You have 2 players, a 9x9 board.
Okay.
And the goal is to checkmate the opponent's king, or as they call it in Gungi, the marshal.
Okay.
But that's where the similarities end.
And here's where that stacking element comes in, right?
The thing that really makes Gungi stand out.
Exactly. Instead of simply moving pieces across the board,
Okay.
you can stack them on top of each other,
What?
up to 3 high.
Wow.
So you're not just maneuvering pieces, you're building towers,
Yeah.
adding a third dimension to the board,
Okay.
and a whole new level of strategic complexity.
Towers of power. I like the sound of that.
Uh-huh.
But wouldn't that make the board incredibly crowded?
Yeah.
And how do you even start a game with all those potential stacks?
So that's where Gungi's unique initial placement phase comes in.
Okay.
Unlike chess, where you start with a predetermined setup,
Right.
players in Gungi strategically place their pieces over a series of 26 turns.
Okay.
They each start with 38 pieces in hand,
Okay.
and the first 18 must be placed. But here's the twist. Players can choose to pass on the remaining turns.
Wait, so you're telling me you don't have to put all your pieces on the board right away?
Correct.
Why would you ever do that?
That's the beauty of Gungi.
Holding back pieces is like having a hidden arsenal. You can use them later for surprise attacks, crucial reinforcements,
Oh, wow.
or to counter your opponent's moves.
It's like a game of chess where
Yeah.
you get to design the opening board yourself.
Exactly.
That adds a whole other layer of strategy to think about.
Exactly. You have to anticipate your opponent's moves, create a strong defensive structure, and lay the groundwork for your offensive strategy, all while keeping some pieces in reserve for later.
Okay. That's pretty mind-blowing. I'm already trying to imagine all the different ways you could set up your pieces.
Right.
So where can you drop these pieces later in the game?
Yeah,
Anywhere on the board.
almost.
Okay.
There's a crucial rule about drops within the opponent's starting area.
Right.
The first 3 rows of the board.
Okay.
You can only drop pieces onto empty squares or on top of your own pieces or towers within that area.
Okay.
But outside of that zone, you have more freedom.
So there's kind of safe zone in the beginning.
Yeah,
But once you move out of that, it's a free-for-all.
that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And this initial placement phase with its passing and strategic drops is just the beginning. Once the pieces are placed, the real dance begins.
And what does that dance look like exactly? Is it just moving pieces around like in chess?
Well, moving is certainly part of it,
Okay.
but Gungi throws in a few twists.
Okay.
Each of the 13 different pieces has its own unique movement pattern.
Okay.
But here's the catch.
Okay.
Those patterns can change depending on the pieces level in a tower.
Oh, wow.
A piece on the bottom level might move differently than the same piece on the top level.
So it's not just about what piece you have, but where it is in the stack.
Yeah.
That adds a whole other level of complexity. How do you even keep track of all that?
It definitely requires a keen eye and strategic thinking.
Yeah.
But to add even more depth, there's another rule to consider. A piece on a lower level cannot attack a piece on a higher level.
Oh, wow.
This means tower height becomes a crucial factor in both offense and defense.
So you can't just build the tallest tower and expect to win.
Correct.
You have to think about which pieces are vulnerable and how to protect them from higher level attacks.
Exactly. Gungi is a constant balancing act, weighing offense and defense, height and mobility.
Right.
Every move has the potential to shift the balance of power.
Okay.
And that's just scratching the surface.
Okay. I'm already starting to feel a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Uh-huh.
It's incredible how much strategic thought goes into every aspect of Gungi.
Right.
But I have to ask, are there any pieces with particularly unique abilities? Something that really sets them apart?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are several pieces with special abilities that can really shake up the game.
Okay.
Let's start with the fortress piece.
Okay.
It acts as a defensive powerhouse,
Okay.
effectively elevating the height of friendly pieces within its movement range.
Wait, so it's like this piece has a force field
Yeah,
that makes other pieces taller.
you got it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What's the strategic advantage of that?
Think of it this way. Imagine you have a fortress positioned within your starting area,
Okay.
where the opponent can't drop pieces directly onto it.
Right.
Suddenly, all your surrounding pieces effectively become one level taller,
Wow.
making them much harder to attack from the ground level.
Okay.
It's like instantly fortifying your defenses.
Okay, that's a brilliant defensive strategy. But wouldn't a level 3 fortress be even better? It could boost even taller towers, right?
There's a catch.
Okay.
A level 3 fortress actually loses its ability to boost other pieces.
Oh.
Remember, the maximum tower height is 3,
Right.
so a level 3 fortress can't make anything taller.
So there are limits even to its power.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Are there any other pieces with these game-changing abilities?
Oh, plenty.
Okay.
How about the council piece?
Okay.
It has a unique takeover ability,
Okay.
allowing it to replace enemy pieces within a tower with its own pieces of the same type.
Wait, what?
Imagine you sneak your council on top of an enemy tower, and suddenly, bam,
Okay.
it's yours.
That's a power move, for
Yeah.
sure. But it sounds like a high-risk, high-reward kind of strategy.
Exactly. To perform a takeover, you need to have the corresponding pieces in hand.
Right.
Essentially, you're sacrificing those pieces for control of the tower.
Okay.
It's a move that requires careful planning and a bit of daring.
This is incredible. Every piece seems to have its own intricate role and strategic possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get completely lost in the weeds, though, are there any other pieces we should know about?
We could spend hours dissecting each piece, but for now, let's just say that the variety of pieces adds another layer of complexity and strategic depth to the game.
Okay.
There are pieces like the cannon, which operates similarly to its counterpart in Chinese chess,
Right.
needing to jump over another piece before capturing.
Oh, okay.
You've got the knight, which can leap over pieces, ignoring any obstacles.
Right.
And then there's the archer, with its impressive long-range attack capabilities.
It's like Gungi takes inspiration from different chess traditions and weaves them into something totally new.
Yeah.
I'm already starting to see how the different pieces could work together in fascinating combinations.
Right.
But before my head explodes from all the possibilities, can we talk about what a typical game actually looks like?
Sure.
How do all these elements come together?
A typical Gungi game is this constant dance of adaptation and anticipation.
Yeah.
You're analyzing the board,
Right.
trying to predict your opponent's next move,
Okay.
and constantly adjusting your own strategy.
Okay.
It's a mental battle where each player tries to outmaneuver and outsmart the other.
So it's not just about brute force.
Yeah.
You need cunning, strategic thinking,
Right.
maybe even a little bit of bluffing.
Exactly. Remember Komugi, the blind prodigy?
Yeah.
She was able to outmaneuver even the most intelligent opponents,
Right.
not through raw power, but through a deep understanding of the game's nuances.
Right.
And her ability to predict and counter her opponent's strategy.
That really highlights the psychological aspect of Gungi.
Yeah.
You're not just playing against the pieces on the board, you're playing against the mind behind them.
It's like a game of chess mixed with poker and a dash of detective work.
Oh, okay.
You're gathering clues,
Right.
trying to decipher your opponent's intentions,
Right.
while also trying to mask your own.
Okay, now that we've laid the groundwork,
Mm.
can we dive a bit deeper into those strategic layers you mentioned earlier?
Sure.
Like, what should someone be thinking about when they're playing Gungi? Where do you even begin to strategize?
That's a great question. Gungi, like Any complex strategy game requires a multi-layered approach.
Okay.
The first layer is understanding the inherent strengths and weaknesses of each piece.
Okay.
Some, like the fortress we talked about, excel in defense,
Right.
while others, like the archer, are more offensive.
Oh.
Recognizing these inherent traits is the foundation for building a solid strategy.
So it's sort of like building a team.
Yeah,
You need the right mix of players with different skills and strengths.
that's a great analogy. But just having those pieces isn't enough.
Right.
You need to understand how to use them effectively.
Okay.
And that's where the second layer of strategy comes in, piece synergy.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What do you mean by peace synergy?
It's about how different pieces can work together to create a more powerful force.
Oh.
For example, pairing a fortress with a long-range piece like the cannon or archer can create a formidable defensive line.
I can see how that would be a powerful combination. The fortress protects the long-range piece,
Yes.
and the long-range piece can attack from a safe distance.
Exactly. Gungi is a game of intricate combinations,
Right.
and that's where a lot of the fun lies.
Okay.
And then there's the third layer, anticipating your opponent's moves.
This is where the mind games come in, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what your opponent is planning and how to counter it.
Precisely. It's not about literally reading their mind, but about developing a sense of their style. Do they favor aggressive attacks or a more patient defensive approach? Are they willing to sacrifice pieces for positional advantage?
Right.
Or are they more conservative? By observing their moves and recognizing patterns, you can start to anticipate their intentions.
So it's kind of like learning their tells in poker.
Uh-huh.
You're looking for those subtle clues that might give away their next move.
That's a great way to put it. And this is especially important in Gungi because you have the added element of hidden information
Right.
with pieces stacked on top of each other.
Right.
You don't always know what you're facing.
Right. So every move becomes a potential clue, a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
It sounds like you need to be a bit of a detective to really master Gungi.
absolutely. But it's not just about observation, it's also about adaptability.
Right.
Gungi is an incredibly fluid game.
Right.
The power dynamic can shift in an instant.
Wow.
A well-placed drop, a clever sacrifice, or a timely exploitation of a weakness can completely change the course of the game.
So you need to be flexible, willing to change your plans on the fly, and adapt to unexpected situations.
Exactly. Clinging rigidly to a predetermined strategy is a recipe for disaster.
No.
The best Gungi players are the ones who can think creatively,
Right.
react quickly,
Okay.
and even turn their opponent's moves to their own advantage.
Wow. I'm starting to understand why Gungi is so popular in the Hunter x Hunter world. It's this constant mental challenge that pushes you to think strategically, anticipate your opponent, and adapt to the ever-changing dynamics of the game.
You've hit the nail on the head. Gungi is definitely not a game for the faint of heart.
No.
It demands your full attention, your
Well,
sharpest wit,
right.
and a willingness to embrace the unpredictable. But
Yeah.
for those who seek a truly challenging and rewarding experience,
Right.
Gungi offers depth and complexity that few other games can match.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Haha.
I'm ready to jump into VRShogiMates and try my hand at Gungi. But before I do you have any final words of wisdom for aspiring Gungi players? Any tips or tricks to keep in mind as we embark on this strategic adventure?
Patience is key.
Okay.
Don't rush your moves.
Right.
Analyze the board carefully
Okay.
and consider all the potential consequences before making a decision.
Okay.
And remember, Gungi is a game of endless possibilities.
Right.
Be bold, experiment with different strategies,
Right.
and see what works best for you.
That's great advice. It's a reminder that Gungi is a journey of discovery.
Yeah.
A constant process of learning and pushing the boundaries of your strategic thinking.
Yes, definitely.
And speaking of pushing boundaries,
One of the most striking things about Gungi is its unparalleled depth and complexity.
right.
The stacking mechanic, the unique piece abilities, the strategic placement phase.
Right.
All of these elements create a game that constantly challenges your strategic thinking and ability to adapt.
It's definitely not a game you can master overnight.
No.
Seems like it takes a lot of practice,
Yes.
patience,
Uh-huh.
and a willingness to learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely. Even the most skilled Gungi players are always discovering new strategies
Right.
and refining their tactics.
Right.
It's a journey of continuous learning and improvement.
It makes you wonder how many different possible games of Gungi exist.
Yeah.
The combinations seem almost endless.
That's part of what makes Gungi so captivating. There's always another layer to uncover, another strategic concept to master.
Okay.
And it's not just about the strategic depth. Gungi also underscores the importance of the psychological aspect of gameplay.
Right.
Anticipating your opponent's moves, understanding their tendencies, even using bluffs and feints.
Wow.
These are all crucial skills for any aspiring Gungi master.
It's like a mental chess match within a chess match.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about moving pieces.
Right.
It's about outsmarting the person on the other side of the board.
Exactly. Gungi is a game that demands strategic brilliance,
Right.
psychological insight, adaptability,
Okay.
and a willingness to embrace the unpredictable.
Yeah.
It truly reflects the human capacity for creative thinking and strategic mastery.
Well said. I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about Gungi, at least for now. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners as we wrap up this episode?
If you're intrigued by Gungi, don't hesitate to dive in and explore. VRShogiMates provides a wonderful way to experience the game firsthand.
Yes.
Don't be discouraged if it feels overwhelming at first.
Right.
Every Gungi master was once a beginner.
Right.
Embrace the challenge.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe one day we'll see you competing in those Gungi World Championships.
That's an inspiring thought. And remember, for those of you watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to stay tuned for more deep dives into fascinating topics.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll be exploring everything from ancient board games to cutting-edge technology.
All sorts of things.
Always seeking out those hidden gems of knowledge.
Yep.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that strategic mind sharp.